What is up, fam? Welcome. This is Phil's Guide to PsyD. This channel is dedicated to all things psychology, wellness, and graduate school. If it's your first time here, welcome. Today we are going to be talking about all of the things that you can do to prepare for psychology school. So for this video is for those who are applying to clinical psychology school, who are getting ready for psychology school, or who are just even thinking about graduate school. These are just some general tips and guidelines that you can do to prepare for graduate school and to ensure that you have the best experience as you start on your clinical psychology program. So one of the first things that you can do, and this is something that a lot of people either forget or they don't think about, but one of the first things that you should do is you should really look through your social media to make sure that everything looks okay. All right, especially if you are thinking about applying for clinical psychology school, you definitely want to go back to your Facebook, your Instagram, your Twitter, and just make sure, maybe you might have to clean it up a little bit just to make sure everything looks okay, because when you do apply for those programs, who knows, it's very possible that the admissions might take a look into your Facebook, into your Twitter, especially if those pages aren't private. Hey, that's fair game for them to take a look at and see perhaps the type of person that you are. And if they don't have a good first impression from those social media sites, that might be a knock on when you go into your interview or when you go into the program. So definitely just be aware of that. The other thing that I think a lot of people don't think about is going into LinkedIn and making sure that you have a professional headshot profile picture. Now, for anyone who hasn't used LinkedIn, I don't know what you're doing. You should definitely use LinkedIn, even if you're going to graduate school, or even if you're in college, or even if you don't have a professional job. You should be on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is basically where all of these business professionals connect. It's where a lot of connections happen in the professional world. So it really is important to have your own brand. And one of the best ways of doing that is just using different platforms to make sure that you look professional. And one of the best platforms, one of the most popular platforms, is going to be LinkedIn. So LinkedIn, you can have a professional headshot. You can have a list of some of your experiences, your work experiences, your clinical experiences, and a little bit of a title in terms of what you're currently doing right now. What I love about LinkedIn is that it's super straightforward. Again, who knows? You never know who's going to look you up, who's going to see you, who's going to want to connect with you, but you always just want to make sure that your profile is ready to go, especially once you're looking to apply to graduate school or you're looking forward to getting an interview. You just want to make sure that everything looks crisp and ready to go, just in case anything happens or just in case anybody reaches out to you. The other thing that you guys can do to prepare for graduate school is shadow, all right? See if you can shadow a neuropsychologist, see if you can shadow a psychologist. I know with the pandemic, it might be a little bit difficult. A lot more clinicians are doing virtual therapy and virtual treatment, and so it might be a little bit more difficult. But the other thing that you could still do is you could email some of these clinicians and just have a phone conversation with them. If you guys are able to talk to actual people who are working in the profession that you can see yourself in, then that is going to give you a great glimpse and an idea of what your potential life could look like, and also just even give you some inspiration and some motivation to go into graduate school, to apply, and to get the degree. So I would definitely recommend getting as much preliminary experience as you can, whether it's shadowing, whether it's asking questions, emailing questions, or whether it's just Zoom calls, phone calls with professionals who are already doing the thing that you might be interested in. The other thing is that especially if you're in college or in high school, see if you can be a part of a professional organization that is devoted to clinical psychology or just psychology in general. Now, not only will this look good on your CV, on your resume, or your application, but this is just really good experience for you to be able to connect with other people, your peers, who are also interested in psychology, and start talking to other people who are just as excited and passionate as you are about the field of psychology. And so I think this is great, because then you can make friendships and relationships. You might be able to meet some professors who are already doing things in their research lab. This might give you a connection to potentially being a research assistant for those professors which could also help you in your CV, which could also help you perhaps in your application, especially also in your letter of recommendation. So as you can see, this is easily could be a domino effect for you. If you don't have an organization in your school, see if you can set one up with the board meeting and perhaps get some students involved in terms of forming your own meeting or forming your own club or organization that is devoted to psychology. And I think what's great about these programs is that there's a number of things that you can do. You can do volunteering. You can set up ways for other students to learn more about psychology. Perhaps you can invite other professionals to these meetings and they can talk about their expertise. I mean, this is just an unbelievable opportunity for you to learn more about the field. And so I cannot suggest it enough in terms of if you are interested in psychology or interested in going to graduate school, try and become a part of an organization or a club that is devoted to psychology. And the last thing that I want to suggest before you guys start applying or before you guys start really diving into clinical psychology and the potential of you becoming a psychologist is that see about whether or not you can find your niche. See whether or not you already have a population that you might want to work with, whether it's kids, whether it's adults, whether it's geriatric, whether that's in a hospital, in a group setting, in a private practice setting, in a school counseling setting. Whatever it is, that might give you a better idea of what program to apply to, right? Okay, so again, here's the thing, you don't absolutely have to know exactly what population you want to work with even before you start graduate school, even though it will be helpful. The thing that is going to be really helpful for you is that once you know those things, it's going to be a lot easier for you to choose the right schools to apply to. So if you know that you want to work with underserved populations in the inner city, you probably are going to apply to programs that are in the inner city that are working with that particular population. Does that make sense? So it makes your application process a lot easier because you know the type of psychologist that you want to become. And then also, if you're already getting those experiences in high school or in college, you can put that in your personal statement, you can put that in your CV, you can get the right letters of recommendation from people who have helped you in those experiences, and then you can apply to those programs that are devoted to those certain experiences that you have also had. And so for the committee members, it makes sense. It looks like an amazing fit that they would choose you because of all of the experiences that you've had and how it matches with their program model. So I cannot stress this enough, guys. Again, if you don't know your particular population, shadow as many different types of psychologists as you can, and narrow it down to 2 or 3 and see if that gives you an idea of what schools to apply to and how to actually go about your clinical psychology program once you start graduate school. Because then if you have an idea, you can figure out different practicum sites and you can even figure out what type of research you want to go into. So finding what your niche is really does dictate a little bit, actually a lot, of what your clinical psychology graduate school experience could look like, and therefore what your experience could look like after graduate school. So for anyone that has any questions about this, definitely put it down in the comment section below. For anyone that's already in graduate programs, if you have any other tips or guidelines that you'd love to give the community to, I definitely recommend that as well. Also put it down in the comment section below. But with that, I will see you guys in the next video.